Hello learners, welcome to Learn to Empower. In this series of videos, we are planning to start the subject of ethics. Now, ethics is most important subject. Why? It is very important because an entire paper in UPSC that is been dedicated, that is your GS4, which includes 250 marks. Right. Before starting the series, I want to clarify what are the sources that we are going to refer. The first and foremost source, no doubt, that is your second ARC. Now, second ARC, in this we have fourth report which talks about the ethics in governance. Right. The second foremost source is your newspapers. Newspapers is very important not only from the point of view of current affairs but definitely point of view of ethics, because we need to look into the recent examples that is coming into picture. Now there is always one or the other crime happening in the society, one or the other corruption cases taking place in the society. Either an MLA or an MP is taking the corruption, or a bureaucrat is taking the corruption. Sometimes even the IAS officer also involved in taking the corruption, right? So these examples, not in the haphazard manner but definitely from the holistic perspective, is important, right? Corruption is most important part of our ethics studies, because even the second ARC also says that the failure of ethics in the society is nothing but the manifestation of failure of ethics in the society is leading to the corruption in the society, right? So these are the things that has been dealt regarding the corruption. Now the corruption is been dealt way back in the Arthashastra itself, right? The Arthashastra was written, or I would say it has been given by the great personality Kautilya. The third and the most important source is this PPT that I am presenting here, because in this PPT I have worked a lot and I have given a lot of examples, not only from the current perspective but also from the static perspective, and definitions etc. were given in this PPT. Now you can definitely see this is the first unit that we are going to start, which has been divided into four subparts. Includes ethics and human interface, dimensions of ethics, human values, and the role of family. In this we are going to start. The first is your what is your essence of ethics. Now, what is essence of ethics? That we should ask, what is essence? Essence means what we are studying through the ethics. Now, what is ethics able to gives us, right? So ethics, what it is going to guide us. Now, by simple layman's language, we can definitely say ethics is definitely going to help us in determining what is morally correct and what is morally wrong. If I ask you whether you will take care of your parents in their old age, definitely you will say, yes sir, I'm going to take care of my parents in their old age. Why? Because you consider this is morally correct, right or not? When I'm asking you whether you will take corruption or not, definitely you will be saying, I'm not going to take the corruption. How? Because these are the guiding principles that acts as, or it will push us in one particular direction, or at least gives a clear picture whether we are moving in the right direction or not. When I mentioned when we are moving in the right direction or not, definitely we should also remember the Gandhi's talisman. Gandhi's talisman is says, remember the poorest man that you remember, right? Or the poorest man alive. And if you are going to take any policy decision, whether this policy decision is going to help that poor man or not, right? If it is going to help the poor man, definitely you are in the right direction. Otherwise, you are not in the right direction. This is called Gandhi's talisman. Right. Now, this is also a guiding principle. Right. This is also morally correct. For example, you take Buddha's teaching, the Buddhism or Buddha's teaching, the eightfold paths, etc. What is it trying to tell you? It is trying to tell you one simple thing: you should be in the right direction. Or Vartamanas Mahavira, right? The Vartamanas Mahavira teaching is also in lines with the ethical teaching. So the every religious value that we are studying, either it can be Hinduism, either it can be Islam, either it can be whatnot. Now these all things actually helping us, right, to guide us in forming or in studying or in moving towards the ethical values. And moreover, the essence of ethics can also be said that it governs our human behavior, how a human should behave, how a human values should behave. You might be asking one question, sir, is religion is always important for studying the ethics? Sometimes religion is not important. Apart from religion also we can understand the ethical values. Now, is there any literature, I would say, which does not talks about religion but still gives ethical values? I'm not talking about the recent thinkers, etc., but it's an ancient literature only. If you remember, there this book by the name Tirukural. Okay, Tirukkural, which was written by Thiruvalluvar during the second century, during the Sangam period, right? This is a document which is not related to any religious values or something, but it definitely guides a human behavior, right? Done. Now, ethics essence of ethics is also helps us in promoting the actions that is considered morally right or not. For example, when you see an elder person, you automatically respect the elder person. Don't you see, this is somewhere ethics is helping you to guide these principles, right or not? So this is something which is helping us to behave in a certain composed and well behaved manner. Ethics actually helps in these directions. Now, moreover, the ethics also gives us the meaning of what is the consequences of our action, whether we are moving in the right action or whether we are doing the right order or whether we are morally excelling, etc. We can sense by understanding what is meant by essence of ethics. Next, some of the examples that we can give is that once you understand the essence of ethics, definitely, for example, I have given a lot of examples. For example, you walk on the road. Now you found a wallet which consists of a lot of money and other important documents. What is the primary thing that strikes you? Not to steal the money. Why? Because the moment if you think to steal the money, you are morally not correct. Because essence of ethics says that you should move in the what is morally accepted and what is morally not accepted. What immediately you will do? Definitely you will think that you will have a sympathy or a kind of empathy towards the person who actually lost this wallet, right or not? Now you will go to the nearby police station in explaining the situation and helping the person who have lost the wallet, or you will deposit the wallet to the concerned authority there. And this is what the ethics actually helps in understanding. This is what the essence of ethics actually trying to give to the society. Now you might see there are a lot of volunteers. There are a lot of volunteers who are actually helping the homeless people, right? Why? Because these people are getting any paid by this, right? There are people who actually donate certain things to the people, especially orphanages, old age homes, etc. Are they are considered about the money or the factor that they are getting? No, definitely. But still there is something, a driving factor that actually making them towards this, right or not? Don't you see, this is what the ethics is trying to achieve. For example, you take Kaila Satyarthi is a Nobel laureate, right? Now he is a person who established very famous organization Bachpan Bachao Andolan, right? He meant to save the child, childhood of the child, right or not? Now don't you see, even though he faces lot of threats, even though he faces lot of intimidating messages from the people who are against him, don't you see, still there is certain factor which actually driving him to towards working this, right or not? So these things actually matters. So these where the essence of ethics comes into picture. Now let's take in case of healthcare professionals. Now whenever you visit a doctor, you starts explaining your problem to your doctor, right or not? Now why you are explaining your problems? Not only to get the medicine or kind of requirements, but definitely the doctor also have the responsibility to have the confidentiality about your information. Now your information he will not sell to some pharma company, or if that is the case, then this is morally incorrect, or it would say it affects his moral professional, right or not? Now you might see whenever there is a natural disaster, it can be Kerala floods, it can be tsunami, etc. There will be a group of people, or there will be a I would say thousands of volunteers who come and help the people who are in the needy. They are the one, they are act like a pillar during this crisis, right or not? You can take recent example of earthquake that happened in Turkey, right? Apart from helping in terms of money, but there were the people on the ground who were actually helping on the ground level, right or not? This is what makes the society beautiful, when there is a sense of or essence of ethics in the society. Whenever there is essence of ethics in the society, definitely it will create a social capital. Now whenever there is a social capital is created, it increases trust in the society. Whenever there is a trust in the society, there will be decrease in the crime rates, right or not? This is a beautiful combination of ethics, how it will imbibe in the forming the moral character of a person. Now, what is the determinant of ethics? Now we need to ask the question, what is meant by determinant? Right. Now how the ethics can be derived to a human being, right or not? How a person or an individual derives the ethics, right? Now these are called determinants. Now the first and foremost determinant that we can arrive is your personal values. Personal values nothing but each and individual will have their own personal values. Something might be good for that particular person, even though it might not be good for the other person, but definitely that is good for the person. For example, a person who is respecting the elders, right, he is bowing down to the elders to touch their feet. Don't you think that he having certain values, the other person might not be having the same value, but he has that value, right or not? These are called personal values. These personal values gets to the person over the period of his upbringing, through his education and through his personal experience. Whenever the personal experience comes into picture, you should always imagine that every child who is born in this world is not a criminal by birth, right? Every child is an innocent child. Whether the child will become a criminal or an innocent person or a good citizen, it depends upon how the upbringing of the child has happened, right or not? When you study, when you go into psychological background of the people who are involved in the social crimes, definitely you will find these people will have a disturbed childhood or some kind of atrocious childhood they might have seen in their very early or very tender ages, right? Now the second determinant of the ethics is your social norms or culture. Now, so what is the social norm? The established order of the society. For example, you belong to one community, the community will establish certain things, right? The community will be following certain things and values, right? Whenever you visit a temple, definitely you will take out the chappals, or when you take out the footwear that you are wearing and you enter the temple, right or not? These also consider ethically correct, right? Apart from not disrespecting the idol there or not disrespecting the religious values, this is also ethically correct. Now third determinant is your moral development, which is happening through the cognitive development. What is cognitive development? Whenever you see certain things, whenever people behaving in certain things, you will tend to have a good attitude towards the particular way, right? This is a cognitive development. This mostly happens in the child. What is child's behavior? If you observe, whenever a child sees certain things, they will try to imitate those things in the house, right or not? Whenever a child sees his father is beating his mother, you can imagine how psychologically the child is getting impacted because of this, right? The parents also have the moral responsibility in the character development of the child, right? And whenever the child is exposed to the other parts, that is their socialization, generally the parents are called as primary socialization agents, and the teachers and the society is called secondary socialization. What is meant socialization? Socialization is something when the teachers or the parents try to mingle with the child in understanding the society, right or not? They will give certain inputs to the child how to behave in certain manner, right? You might also see that in a family, whenever there is a male child, there are certain rules and regulations. Whenever a female child, there are certain rules and regulations for the female child. There should be a uniform way of upbringing both the childs, but the society has certain norms for different genders, right? Now definitely there is a peer pressure and social influence. What is peer pressure? Whenever a child or a person is mingling with a group of friends, definitely when the group of friends agreeing for certain points, even though he or she personally not agreeing to the group, but still tend to follow certain things, right? Because of the peer pressure. For example, you want to study for the exams tomorrow, right? But your group of friends, the 4 or 5 people, the gang that you people have, that they are saying that let's go to the movie. Even though you want to study, but you are not able to convince entire group of 4 or 5 people, you also tend to go to movie because you don't want to left out of that particular group, right? This is your peer pressure. Now the point is, when this is a small example I am giving, but this is a larger implication. Whenever there is a social crime that is happening around the society, when you go in detail, that you will find definitely the peer pressure is actually making the people to commit certain crimes, especially in the mob violence, especially in type of happening in the gang rape, etc. Those things are meant for having this peer pressure. Now what is social influence? Social influence is something whenever the child is seeing somebody who is doing some social crime. For example, somebody is smoking. Whenever a child sees that, don't you see that it will have an impact on the child, right? So this is your social influence. Now the determinants of ethics can also be done by the organization itself. Whenever you are working in an organization, the organization will have certain rules and regulations. Don't you see? The organization will say you have to be at the office at 9 a.m. and you have to leave the office by 5 p.m. Don't you see? This strict discipline, some discipline is established, right or not? This discipline is very important for the organization. Now the organization will also have some sexual harassment policies. right? Now the sexual harassment policy is what? For gender sensitization. Whenever there is a gender sensitization is happening, now there we can expect a coordination between the both male and females, right? So these things can also be established by the determinants of ethics. Now let's look into the examples. As I discussed before, the organization, if you take, they will implement strict code of conduct, right, or not, which includes the either it can be timing or it can be gender sensitization, including the sexual harassment policies. Now as I said, for example, you want to study, but you know what, you will not cheat. You have a temptation to cheat in the exam, right? But you will think that in a long term perspective, if I cheat now, this is a momentary period, I might success, but in a long term I might not success. Why? Because you have determined your ethics in this manner. Now, the third example is that whenever there is a spiritual or the individual relief value, this will imbibe something called, you have the kindness, charity, forgiveness towards the other human beings, right? For example, you take the month of Ramazan or month of Ramzan. In that particular month, the people tend to do more of charity. It does not mean they don't have to do charity at other times, but definitely that particular month is for meant to do charity, right or not? The same thing you can see the langars are the where the food is being given to the poor and needy, everybody, with irrespective of the caste, religion, etc. It is being given. But don't you see these things? Actually, religious values gives the importance for this kind of empathy or sympathetic value, right? And apart from that, religious teachings from that influenced the great teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, where he also through the policies of satyagraha, non-violence, etc., taught us the ethics, right? So which means what, we are deriving the ethical values from the great personalities for sure. Now let's look into what is the consequence of ethics. We have done with the determinants of ethics. Now what is the consequence of the determinants of ethics? What we are trying to achieve, the first and foremost that we are trying to achieve is a personal integrity, which leads to individual reputation and self-esteem. You will be self-esteem, you will be a person of integrity, right? For example, there is an officer, right, who is non-corrupt, who will not be get corrupted, right? Now whenever any person trying to corrupt, you can see a person of integrity will never go under corruption, right? It increases trust and cooperation. As I said before, this increases the trust and cooperation society, where you will have mutual collaboration of the people, where the social crimes or the crime rate will come down. Third, the most important, it will ensure the social justice and fairness, or the or we would say in a longer term, criminal justice system will be in a fair manner, which will help for the social justice and fairness. It will also increase the organization reputation. How? For example, an organization which is working for the welfare of the people, which is working for the employee, will definitely have a social respect in the in the society. For example, when I mention the name Tata, right, imagine immediately we will remember that Tata is the group which is known for its integrity, or it's known for its customer welfare, right? And over the period of time, every citizen of this country, whenever we follow, will definitely in line with the legal compliance of the society. We will try to follow the legal system of this country, and this will also ensure our personal and social well-being. Now, some examples, as I said, that we are looking, as I said before, that we will be looking the ethics from the examples point of view. The consequences of some of the consequences that you can see, the right implementation of Right to Information Act, right? I want to give a great personality example, that is Aruna Roy. Aruna Roy was an ex-bureaucrat in the Rajasthan. Now she established Mazdoor Kisan Sangathan, through which she ensured that the transparency of the information getting from the organization, and which ultimately culminated into the established or the enactment of Right to Information Act by the Parliament. Now the second is that Swachh Bharat campaign. Whenever we see the cleanliness is part of our society, right or not, we tend to keep our homes clean, but we not follow the same thing with respect to our society. So there is a need of behavioral change. When you morally change, when you ethically change, definitely we will see the behavioral change, which was established through our Swachh Bharat mission. Third is nothing but this essence of ethics, consequences of ethics, etc., will definitely lead to transparency and cultivate the relationship. Whenever there is a fair labor policy that is being followed by our organization, definitely the labor or the worker who is working in the organization will definitely feel he is asset of the organization, right or not? Whenever he feels asset of the organization, he will work for the welfare of the organization. Whenever he works welfare of the organization, definitely the organization will booms up, right or not? Now whenever the organization thinks about the worker will thinks about the organization. It is a I would say it's a tick for tact, or I would say quid pro quo. And by this we are ending the first part of our first unit, and we will continue the same kind with our next unit as well. Till then, thank you.